21 Savage had the streets movement that he kind of has been promoting these last...
I don't even about that. I am the streets, I love the streets, I come from the streets. I ain't on all that. I ain't just like stop the violence. I've been on. I think people kind of confused. It ain't got nothing to really do with toting the game.
Have you ever tried to put some shit together that just wouldn't work? Like
YB and Dirt, but Dirt locked up, so goddamn, he can't really talk. But I done had conversations with YB and I done had conversations with Dirt people, type shit. But it ain't work. But goddamn, I done tried. You feel what I'm saying?
21 Savage just snapped back after getting checked by Young Thug, also known as the so-called Great Slime. And now this whole situation is heating up fast. What started as side comments is turning into something way louder, and people are watching closely because this tension clearly isn't cooling off anytime soon. Things are escalating, lines are being drawn, and the energy feels different this time.
Bitch ass up, nigga. Stop saying my motherfucking name. Don't think cause a nigga trying to change that, man. Y'all niggas should not.
Let's cut straight to it. This situation didn't come out of nowhere, and it's got layers you gotta understand before jumping to conclusions. To see how it reached this point, you gotta rewind a bit. For a while now, 21 Savage has been pushing that leave the streets alone message hard. He's been traveling, talking to young people, and telling them there's more to life than gang politics and risky paths. On the surface, that sounds solid. Nobody can knock someone trying to save futures and stop cycles before they finish people off. But here's where it gets messy. When someone who came up in real street conditions starts telling others how to move, not everybody is gonna clap for that, especially when you're from East Atlanta, Zone 6, where survival wasn't optional. Some folks look at it like, who made you the example? And that's where the pushback starts. But the truth is, 21 isn't talking from a high horse. He lived it for real. On his 21st birthday, things went left. He was caught slipping, took 6 hits, and one of his close friends didn't make it out. That moment shaped everything, even the name 21 Savage itself. That wasn't branding, it was personal. So when he says leave the streets alone, it's not talk, it's pain talking. He's lost too many people to ignore it. Back in 2013, before the fame really kicked in, he lost his brother Quantavius, known as Tay-Man, to street violence. Not long after, he lost his close friend Larry too. These weren't random faces, they were family. That kind of repeated loss changes how you see life. Early on, his music leaned heavy into raw street reality. Tracks like No Heart and X didn't sugarcoat anything. But as time passed, the money came in and more people were gone. His mindset shifted. That's when the bigger picture hit him. He realized young kids were watching his every move. That's why the forget the streets message didn't just pop up overnight. It built over years. From community work in Atlanta to the 21 Savage bank account campaign teaching financial basics to launching the Leading by Example Foundation, the direction was clear. And once he started saying all this louder in interviews and online, that's when the tension really started bubbling up. At this point, 21 wasn't moving in silence anymore. He was loud with it. He was telling young people straight up that the gang path ain't the move. He was basically saying you're set, you're blocked, all that pride people risk everything for. It won't mean much in the long run. And once you put a message like that out there, you gotta know it's gonna land different depending on where you say it. Back home in Atlanta, especially where 21 Savage is from, most people respected it. They watched his whole journey. They know he really lived that life. So when he speaks on it, it hits different. But once he started taking that same message to other cities, Chicago, Louisiana, California, the reactions weren't so clean. Some people respected it, especially older heads who already paid the price and lost too much. They understood exactly what he was trying to stop before it finished more lives. But the younger ones still active in the streets, they took it personal. To them, it felt like he was brushing off their reality, like saying their struggle wasn't valid. Now here's something people forget. 21 and YoungBoy Never Broke Again actually had history before all this. They were cool at one point. Around 2019 and 2020, there was mutual respect, no tension, no sneak shots. You could see the love online, no problems at all. But there was already some quiet tension building in the background. When the Lil Durk and YB situation started heating up, people noticed 21 leaning closer to Durk. That alone raised eyebrows, even without direct words being said. And let's be clear, that Durk and YB situation isn't just rap drama, it's deep, real, and lives were lost behind it. When King Von passed away in Atlanta, everything intensified overnight.
Rapper King Von and his group were at Opium nightclub before making their way here to Monaco Hookah Lounge, then to the parking lot where chaos ensued.
That moment changed the temperature of the whole culture. So with 21 being from Atlanta and close to Dirk, it put him in a tricky spot. He never openly came at YB, but subtle support, being seen around Dirk, certain online interactions, could easily be read as choosing a side. Now stack that on top of the forget the streets message. To someone like YB, who's still knee-deep in everything, that can come off wild. It might feel hypocritical, like you backed one side of a street situation and then turned around saying the streets don't matter. And to understand why that hit a nerve, you gotta look at where YB is coming from. He's only 25, but he's been through more chaos than most people see in decades. He's survived attacks, legal pressure, lost close people, and been fighting cases non-stop. That kind of life shapes how you hear every word thrown your way. For him, the streets aren't something you just clock out from. Even if he wanted to step away, it's not that simple. He's still dealing with open situations, still watching his back, still tied to people who are deep in it every day. So when someone tells you, forget the streets, it can feel like they're brushing off your real-life pressure. From that angle, it sounds like that's easy for you to say, you already made it out. And that's where the disconnect starts. YoungBoy Never Broke Again has never been the type to soften his stance or clean up his words to make anyone comfortable. He's always been raw, straight up, no filter. That's exactly why his fans ride with him. He never pretends to be something he's not. So when YB got asked about 21 Savage and the whole Leave the Streets movement in a recent interview, you could tell the tension was already there. The interviewer framed it like 21 was trying to guide the youth and push change. And YB's response, zero hesitation. He made it clear he didn't care for that message at all. He said straight up that he is the streets, that he comes from it, and that he stands on that fully. That wasn't just disagreement. That was a shot straight at the movement itself. When you dismiss the whole idea like that, it stops being about philosophy and turns personal real fast. And YB didn't stop there. He doubled down, saying people were confused about what's really being pushed. He made it clear he's about self-preservation, but he still wasn't rocking with what 21 was promoting. Then came the line that flipped the switch completely. He said there's a narrative being pushed, and he's pushing his narrative. That was code. Translation, you do you, I'm doing me. That emphasis let everybody know this wasn't some casual back and forth. This was YB drawing a hard line, saying he fundamentally doesn't agree with that direction at all. Once that interview dropped, the internet exploded. People picked sides instantly. Some said YB was just keeping it real. You can't tell people how to live. Others backed 21, saying he's just trying to stop people from ending up gone too soon. On Twitter, it turned toxic fast. YB fans accused 21 of being fake deep and chasing a clean image. 21 fans fired back, saying YB was glorifying chaos. The energy got nasty quick. And just when folks thought it couldn't get messier, 21 Savage decided to respond. Not directly, but enough that everybody in the culture knew exactly who it was aimed at. He jumped online looking heated, clearly in his feelings, talking about people using his name and speaking on the streets. Now look, officially 21 Savage was responding to PV Foreign, but let's be real, the timing told a different story. This dropped right after YoungBoy Never Broke Again made those comments, and everybody peeped it immediately. PVI had been throwing light jabs at 21 earlier, questioning his street background and credibility. That stuff was already floating around, but it was minor compared to the energy YB brought. So when 21 finally spoke up, people weren't buying that it was about just one person. He came out the gate heated, telling people to stop saying his name, saying don't mistake personal growth for weakness. You could hear the frustration all over his voice. This wasn't rap promo energy. This was someone fed up with being tested while trying to move forward. Then he started talking in a way that felt way broader than one target. He said, if you walking around still stuck in the same habits, don't speak on him about the streets. If you grown and still chasing the same goals you've been chasing since you were a teen, don't lecture him either. That alone had people rewinding the clip. And then he dropped the line that made everyone freeze. He reminded folks that just because he's pushing a more positive direction now doesn't erase what he's survived in real life. Translation? Don't get bold just because the message changed. That was a warning. Not flashy, not exaggerated, just firm. He made it clear that trying to do better doesn't mean he forgot where he came from or what he's capable of. Growth doesn't equal softness. He doubled down after that, saying don't get comfortable using his name for clout. Don't think you can keep poking him just because he's focused on uplifting people now. That was him drawing a boundary loud and clear. But here's where it got deeper. 21 started breaking down why this whole conversation hits a nerve for him. He said a lot of people talking loud about the streets haven't actually lived enough to feel the weight he feels. That's the real disconnect. He wasn't impressed by secondhand stories. He wasn't moved by who someone knows or where they hang. He was talking about personal experience, what you went through, what you lost, what you had to survive. And that's the key difference he was calling out. There's a gap between being around street life and actually being trapped inside it. Knowing people who face things is not the same as carrying that pain yourself. You could hear the weight in his voice. That wasn't tough talk. That was pain coming through loud and clear. That's someone who's really lost people, really stood at grave sites, really carried that kind of grief. And when he tells others they don't have the range to speak on what he's doing, he means that from experience. Then he hit them with a cold reality check, basically saying, stick to making music. Translation, y'all aren't built for this conversation. When it comes to real life consequences and the pressure that comes with that world, he's saying a lot of these voices don't qualify. And then things took another turn. 21 Savage started calling out people who claim street credibility but haven't actually been seen in their environment for decades. He joked about folks being gangsters from remote locations, meaning all that tough talk is happening from a safe distance. That hit hard because everyone knows exactly the type he was talking about. That was a direct shot at internet bravado, people who speak like they're still in the mix, but really left that life a long time ago. It wasn't playful, it was calling out performative toughness. Then 21 touched on something deeper that a lot of people glossed over. He questioned how someone from a completely different state feels comfortable telling another man who he is and how he should move. That's a real tension in hip-hop. Atlanta and Baton Rouge are not the same. Different cities, different street structures, different rules. Young Boy Never Broke Again comes from a whole different environment than 21. But even with those differences, loss is still loss. Pain doesn't change based on geography. From 21's perspective, his message isn't about location, it's about survival. He believes what he's saying applies everywhere because the outcome is always the same when things go left. Now zoom out for a second. This isn't just a personal clash. This moment highlights a bigger issue in hip-hop culture, the constant tug of war between staying authentic and allowing growth. Hip-hop has always rewarded realism. So when someone who built their name on raw street truth starts pushing a message about stepping away from that life, it creates confusion for some fans. People start questioning motives. Is it growth? Is it image control? Is it contradiction? On the other side, you've got artists like YB who refuse to soften anything no matter how far they go. And for many fans, that consistency feels authentic too. That's why this situation split people so fast. It forces a hard question. Can someone evolve without being labeled fake? Or does growth automatically get viewed as switching sides? And here's the part nobody can ignore. People asking if 21 is being hypocritical because he still makes street-heavy music. That question is sitting right in the middle of this whole debate. Here's where a lot of people start calling out the contradictions. 21 Savage still makes music that touches on street realities. He's still connected to people who are active. And let's not forget, he was seen leaning toward Lil Durk during the Durk and Young Boy Never Broke Again situation, which itself is rooted in real tension. So people ask, how do you say, forget the streets, while still being connected to all of that? 21 actually addressed that head on. He said he's trying to change his life, trying to save people from ending up gone or locked up, trying to slow down the chaos that keeps repeating itself. And the key word there is trying. He never claimed to be perfect or fully removed from that world. He's saying growth is a process, not a switch you flip overnight. But not everyone accepts that. Some people want it black and white. Either you're street or you're not, no middle ground. They don't like the gray area, even though real life lives in that space. What makes this whole situation heavier is what gets ignored while everyone debates online. While 21 and YB trade words and fans pick sides, young people in the hood are still losing their lives every single day. That's the part that keeps getting overshadowed. At the core, 21's message isn't about image or clout. It's about survival. It's about offering young people another option besides a path that statistically ends in prison or an early ending. When he says, forget the streets, he's really calling out a system that chews up kids with limited choices and spits them out broken. But here's where YB's perspective hits too. It is easier to say that once you've made it out, once you've got money, security, and options. What about the ones still stuck there with no exit plan yet? For them, the streets aren't a lifestyle, they're survival. That's what YB means when he says he is the streets. He's not praising violence. He's standing on where he comes from and the people still living that reality. He's refusing to act above it just because fame showed up. The frustrating part is there should be space for both truths. 21 could admit his message might sound preachy to people still trapped in it. YB could admit the cycle isn't sustainable and that trying to reduce harm matters. The real danger here is if this ever goes beyond words. Hip-hop has seen this movie too many times. Talk turns heated and situations spiral into real-world consequences. And that would be the wildest irony of all. A clash that started with 21 Savage trying to slow things down, somehow leading to more chaos? Nobody wants that. There's also a strong chance this just fades out. Let's be honest, neither side really benefits from pushing it further. Too much money on the line, too much to lose, and too many eyes watching. Truth is, hip-hop needs both perspectives. We need voices like 21 willing to say, we gotta do better. And we also need voices like YoungBoy Never Broke Again, keeping it raw about what people are still dealing with every day. The problem starts when those viewpoints turn into opposition instead of balance. Still, both of them stood firm. 21 made it clear he's not backing off his message. YB made it just as clear he's not switching up who he is for anybody. Now it's a waiting game. Does this cool off or does it keep bubbling? Either way, the conversation is happening, and that matters. Maybe instead of picking sides, the bigger question is how you take the real from both and turn it into progress. Now I want to hear from you. Who do you think is making the stronger point here? Do you think this situation dies down or gets louder? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you're rocking with The Breakdown, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss what's next. And tap into the next video on your screen right now for even more celebrity drama. We'll catch you on the next one.